Namaskar and good evening, everybody. I welcome all of you to this Sunday webinar of Philosophy Family. Well, today's program is a bit different from the other Sunday webinars in a sense that we have three PhD scholars who are working for their doctoral degrees in different universities of the country. We have with us K.R. Roy. She will be speaking on practical Vedanta. She is from North Bengal University, West Bengal. And we have with us Miss, well, K.R. Roy, she is a bit known to Philosophy Family now because she is coordinating in the Saturday webinar on Isha Upanishad. So I don't think further introduction is needed for K.R. Roy. Well, Ms. Kashmira Murmu, she has presented a paper earlier in Philosophy Family. She will be speaking on Nishkamakarma. She's a PhD scholar and also she's a faculty in Revansa University, a permanent faculty in Revansa University. Recently, she got the job there. So I wish her all the best. And we have with us Ankita Sharma from Punjabi University, Patiala, PhD scholar. She will be speaking on women inequality and menstruation, the cultural, religious, and the social perspectives. Okay, well, a new dimension. Okay, well, let's discuss things. Well, areas that we should focus on. Well, good. So we have three a faculty there in Revansa University. Welcome, Kashmira. Please carry on.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Thank you so much, sir. Honorable dignitaries and dear participants. I'm Kashmira Murmu, Assistant Professor at Revansa University, Cuttack. And today I'll be talking on the topic Nishkamakarma. That is an important part of the Bhagavad Gita. So first of all, I would like to thank Pramod sir for guiding me in this topic and for helping me at each and every moment while preparing this topic. Thank you so much, sir. So I'll start with a little question. So most of the times, all of us have gone inside an examination center, isn't it? We have entered, but what have we thought? We have always thought, if not always, most of us have thought that I will qualify this exam, or I will not qualify this exam, or I have to stand first in the exam. So there is one thing that is always common. That is, no matter what the action I'm doing, I'm always attaching a sort of desire to my consequences. And because of this, most of the people get into depression or overjoyed maniac positions. And this is the pressing problem of today's society. That is, man doesn't know what sort of action to do, what sort of temperament to have, what sort of attitude to develop, and what sort of lifestyle to live. So, the gem behind how to lead a good lifestyle, what sort of actions to perform, what sort of temperament to keep, has been very well enshrined in the Nishkama Karma concept of the Bhagavad Gita. It is important to know that Bhagavad Gita is one of the greatest religious texts as well as the moral text of Indian philosophy, and it is a part of the Prasthana Trayi. So, Nishkama Karma is an important concept of Bhagavad Gita. Etymologically, it means desireless action. At first, it would seem that it is completely impossible to think about a desireless action because no matter whatever action one does, if one doesn't have desire, then how can one perform an action? So let us understand the concept of behind this and the mystery behind this in today's session. First of all, we need to understand two concepts in order to understand Nishkama Karma. One is the concept of guna and another is the concept of karma. There are three types of gunas, that is sattva, raja and tama. Sattva is characterized by the color white. It stands for purity, wisdom, enlightenment, and illumination. It is mostly present in the case of Brahmanas. Raja is the quality which is characterized by the color red. It stands for restlessness, energy, and activity. It is mostly present in the case of Kshatriyas. Tama is the characteristic uh, characteristic which is present in the case of both Vaishyas and Shudras, though predominantly in Vaishyas there is Raja and subordinately there is Tama, and Tama is mostly present in the Shudras. So it stands for lack of activity, inertia, lethargy, and laziness. It is characterized by the color black. And it's important to note here that by saying Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, there is no hard and fast hierarchical order. Rather, it is based on guna and karma. That is, on the basis of guna and karma, one can be a Brahmana, one can be a Kshatriya, one can be a Vaishya, one can be a Shudra. In fact, the son of a Kshatriya can be a Brahmana, and the son of a Shudra can be a Vaishya also, given the kind of guna and karma one possesses. So one of the characteristics was guna. Another concept is karma. Now, karma has been interestingly very much divided and classified in many ways because I went through the three books mostly. I went through one book by Sri Praharaj and one book by J. Jadunath Sinha and one book by N.C. Padi Panigrahi. And I found that there are three kind of classification if in total I see. Then one is of karma, akarma, and vikarma. That is, one is action. Vikarma is something that is mostly translated as wrong action. For example, stealing someone's jewelry is vikarma. And akarma is not inaction. Rather, it means giving away of the ego-centered viewpoint for the betterment of the mankind. From here, we understand one thing, that inaction is impossible. Now, a person might ask, how is inaction impossible? I'm sleeping on my bed. I'm not doing any sort of action. So it is inaction. But no, there is some sort of action happening inside my body. That is, I'm breathing, my heart is beating, metabolic activities are happening. So, though not voluntarily, yet involuntarily, some or the other sort of activities are happening inside my body. There is some sort of activity always occurring. So, inaction is an impossibility. Now, coming back to it, karma, vikarma, and akarma are the three classifications. Another classification is of kriyamana karma, prarabdha karma, and sanchita karma. So, prarabdha karma is the experienced, the karmas that we experience today because of the past. Sanchita karma is the past karmas which have not yet been reaped, and kriyamana karma is the ones which are influenced by the current decisions and current choices. Another distinction is of sakama karma and nishkama karma. So sakama karma is something in which we attach a desire with the result. For example, let us go back to the same example. I enter inside an examination hall and I always think that I have to stand first in the class and that is why I should do this. So that is sakama karma. But if I think that no matter what the result is, I will perform this action because it is my duty, it is the karma that I have to perform, then it is nishkama karma. From this, we come to the concept of nishkama karma. So what is nishkama karma? Nishkama karma does not mean giving up of action. Rather, it says that it is the giving up of the desires or the expectations out of the results of an action. It is not the renunciation of action, rather, it is renunciation in action. Here, the person should think that one is a nimitta matra, that is an instrument in the hands of the supreme divine God. One is doing anything according to it, according to God. Now, one might again question, because a murderer might ask, I committed a murder and it is not my mistake. The God made me do it. I'm a nimitta matra. But no, that is not the case. There are two things. One is action, one is consequences. while choosing one's action, one has freedom. That is, one has the capacity to make a choice. And accordingly, he has to undertake the consequences. So the point here is that you choose the action, but don't think much about the consequences. Don't put much expectations about the consequences. And further, this egoness or that I factor, that I am the doer, I am the agent, has to be given up. Rather, it should be projected towards the supreme divine consciousness, that is the God Himself, Sri Krishna. So, renunciation of action, of the results of action, needs to be done, and not the renunciation in action. It is also important to note that a person can attain Jivan Mukti by doing Nishkamakarma. That is, he can attain liberation within this life itself by doing Nishkamakarma. And such a person is known as a true sannyasin, true yogi, a true karma yogi. And Nishkama karma is important because it leads to loka sangraha. And only a selfless soul, a selfless Nishkama karmi, can lead to loka sangraha, that is the social welfare or the social good. So, what sort of karma should one do? Let us go back to the battlefield of Arjuna and Krishna, where Kauravas and Pandavas were fighting. Arjuna said that no, I will give up all my shastras because I am fighting against my kiths and kins. So, what sort of karma should one do? What is one's swadharma? What is one's paradharma? Swadharma is the one which is enshrined by one's guna, karma, and varna. So the Varna system says what one should be one's swadharma, and paradharma is something which is the action or the dharma of other people. For example, my dharma is to teach and worship, so I should not do someone else's dharma. It has been said that swadharma, ill done, is better than paradharma, well done, because paradharma is very dangerous. Now, this swadharma and paradharma concept can be very well understood by the conception of Bradley's My Station and its duties also, because they're quite similar to each other. Now, Bradley states that every person has certain aptitudes, and one must act according to his or her own aptitudes. If one does not act according to one's aptitudes, then it will be very dangerous. Similarly, Plato has also given three categories: one of the recluse, one of the soldiers, one of the traders. One has the virtue of wisdom, one has the virtue of courage, and the other has the virtue of thrift. And temperance joins them all. And justice can be attained only when all of them perform their own duties. So while doing Nishkama Karma, one should always keep in mind performing one's swadharma and not going towards or not getting swayed by paradharma. Now, Nishkama karma is anti-hedonistic because it does not have any condition of giving pleasure or selfish motivation. But is it rigoristic, or is it like deontology of Kant? Somehow similar, but somehow not even similar. How is it similar? Because Kant said that one must do duty for duty's sake. Similarly, Gita also says that one must perform one's duties, but there is a lot of difference between them. Kant's theory is very much individual centric, but the theory of Gita is centered towards the society, that is, for the welfare of the society. Kant's theory is very much uh, rigoristic, that is, he says all sorts of emotions should be given up. But Gita's theory is not rigoristic or ascetic. It says that obviously one should not attach oneself with the desires of or the result, but one should always inculcate the good or positive aspects like love, compassion, and care for the betterment of the society. There is one sentence in the book Jaduraj Sinha that one should not attach oneself to one's uh, like relatives, but one should always have those love, compassion, and care through which one can bring about the social welfare or the social good. So, in this manner, the theory of Kant is very, to say, impractical. Because Kant also does not have a religious or spiritual realm to it, but Gita has it. Kant does not have a social realm to it, but Gita has that. But Gita, on the other hand, is not only a moral teaching, but it is also more practical in nature, and it can be followed in our day-to-day life. Further, I found one interesting concept, that is how we view the common sense view of action and the Gita view of action, that is the Nishkamakarma. The common sense view of action says that one must act, one must desire, one must go through the consequences, one must have go through the consequences of it. But the Gita view says that one must not have any sort of attachment towards the desire or the consequence of it. One should be desireless. The Gita, the common sense view of action says that action binds us. But Gita view of action says that action does not bind us, it liberates us. When this desire is projected towards the higher being, then only our karmas will not lead us to bondage, rather, they will liberate us. Further, the common sense view of action believes in the four castes, that is, four jatis: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. On the other hand, the Gita view of action or Nishkama Karma does not focus upon these four jatis, rather, it focuses upon four varnas, which are completely flexible and non hierarchical in nature. On the other hand, the common sense view of action states that man is rational and he is practical. But Gita view says that man is rational, practical, but at the same time divine in nature. He can he can modify his decisions depending upon the situation. That is, contextualism is present here in the Gita view of action, which is not present in the common sense view of action, because there are situations, there are ethical dilemmas even in our day-to-day life where we need to make tough decisions, and that can happen only when we follow the Gita view of action or the Nishkama Karma in its true real sense and not just its literal sense. So this is how common sense view of action and Gita view of action are completely different from each other. Last but not the least, in today's world, man is very much chaotic and man is very much confused as to what sort of action he must do. Only when all the stakeholders of the society will perform their actions in a Nishkama Karma way for the Loka Sangraha, then only our bureaucrats, our scholars, our people who are working on the front line can bring about a positive change in the society. Selfishness attached and desire for the consequences can lead to ego or depression or corruption. So the root cause behind everything is that we are always self-centered and we do something for ourselves without giving it to the world outside. But Nishkama Karma says that we should not attach, that is, attachment should not be there. There should be no attachment at all towards the results or the consequences of the action. And only when that will happen, the world can be a better place to live in. And hopefully, this will help a lot of people, not just the people from philosophy fraternity, but also people from all sectors of life to become a human person and just not just a machine centric, a machine oriented person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kashmira Murmu, for a very nice presentation. Beautifully, within the limited time, you tried to bring in Nishkama Karma and also tried to compare the ideal of Nishkama Karma with the Western concepts that we have. Well, thank you so much for this. Well, let's move to Ranjit Ghosh sir for initiating the discussion. Professor Ghosh. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Kashmira has presented her version very nicely. She was a student of ours, Kailas Babu and myself, from our very first year, and now she is an assistant professor in Ravenshaw University. Our blessings are always with her. So what I think now, I want to give a new direction to her to think over this matter. She has presented the normal way of giving an exposition of Nishkamakarma and its similarities and differences with Western thinkers like Kant and Bradley, that it is not a deontological theory but a teleological one. All these things he has explained. Now, I want to impress her on this issue that two things are coming to the fore in our day-to-day life. One is detachment and other one is attachment. Okay, so psychologically speaking, if we can develop a system by which we can make out a detached attachment, then I think that will be the proper perspective of karma for the modern man. Detached attachment. It is not detachment, not attachment, but a form of detached attachment. So I think she should explore on this issue and proceed on this if she likes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Professor Rajit Ghosh sir. Well, let's move to Kailad Das sir for his observations and questions. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, Rahul. I was very happy to see Kashmira presenting very nicely, and as usual, she has very good clarity over the very official doctrine of what Gita is going to say. So it is a very good exposition of Gita's doctrine, and she is very justifiably explained most of the aspects that most ambitious students are really they compare with the Kant, they compare with the Bradley's My Station and its duties, then common sense view of Gita and common sense view of action and Gita's view of action. As she has very beautiful said, that it is a treatise of moral philosophy in poems, perhaps the only one in the world where it's a poem in the philosophical form it is told. So all these things are very nicely she has done. She has done justice to a very good, lucid and clear lecture on Gita. So everybody can easily understand, there will be no problem. So, but my problem is that uh, modern psychologists or in the corporate houses, I'm coming into a practical situation. Actually, Gita's main message will be that as it is the central theme of Gita will be that what should I do? And here the example is given that in a war field like Kurukshetra, and the is conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. That is the central, and how Krishna, who is God incarnate, is trying to say, what should you do? And the two questions are being raised here. One question is that I find no meaning in this world. And any student of modern age will find that Arjuna is more justifiably asking a question that what should I do? And this Nishkamakarma doctrine that Krishna teaches him, one is not easily going to be convinced by that. Rather, he says that yes, war is meaningless, which is creating a lot of devastation in the kingdom and lot of problems, and nobody will like a war. And that is what exactly Arjuna is saying. But Krishna is saying that because you are a Kshatriya and your duty is to go for the war. Right? So here what happens is, Krishna's doctrine is deontological or not. Arjuna is saying something that is teleological or not. Definitely, the ethics that Arjuna is saying is teleological, because actions has to be depending on the consequences that is bringing. And the consequences of a war is most dangerous, most painful, and worst for human existence and life. That is what he is concerned about, killing my dear and near ones. This is a very genuine problem, and everybody will be appealed by this. But Krishna, being Vasudeva himself, God, is saying that no, And do you find Krishna's answers very convincing to a person when in the corporate houses we are taught, why are you coming here? What is why you are taking this course? The natural answer is everybody tries to find out what is my interest in it. The interest may be pecuniary interest, maybe my career interest, maybe something I'll be benefited by this, maybe even a very aesthetic pleasure. That will be my interest. But if you say you will be disinterested in the sense that it is detached, how are you actually going to convince it? But your paper is very clear. You have a very nicely presented it, and really I'm very happy to note that I will say that excellent communication and clarity and thought about whatever can be told about Gita that you have tried. But this is what where it will be difficult for somebody to say that it's not deontological, it is not rigoristic, it is not teleological. Then what remains that Gita will be treated? Can we give some name to it or something like that? So it has to be reflected over. If you reflect over it, please tell. Otherwise, also, no problem because you have very nicely said all these things. Thank you. Thank you, Kashmira. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, what I find here is that when Arjuna tries, gives up everything, he is into depression, then he says that why will I fight with my kith and kin? First, there are three, four things that I want to say. So the first thing is there is something called sadharana dharma and something called swadharma. So by sadharana dharma also one finds that no, that one should not kill, one should not cause pain, one should not do this. And another one is his swadharma, that is his varna dharma. So here Krishna talks about giving importance to the varna dharma here, because when given a choice between swadharma and varna dharma, one should always or one should most of the times go to the varna dharma. And second thing is seeing the entire scenario. That is what I also found, sir, while studying Gita for the first time as a student and in a seminar also I found, that was my personal thing, that even I was unconvinced by Krishna's saying that this is the your varna dharma, that's why you do this. Rather, Krishna could have said that if in case you give up, then the Kauravas will win the game. So if the Kauravas win the battle, then it will create greater devastation. So you have two choices. One is whether you do this for the greater benefit of the society. You have to kill your kith and kin for the greater benefit of the society. And second is you let the entire society be killed and be tortured. So even in this case of soldiers and spies also we see that if they have two options, one is their family and one is their society or country, then they have to go for the country because that is the kind of demand that their job has. This is where varna dharma comes into the forefront. And another thing is uh, about the practical context. How can I convince a layman saying that you detach yourself from everything, from all desires, from all sorts of expectations? That is, by saying that, I don't mean that you don't desire anything or you just have zero desire or something. Obviously, the concept itself talks about that. But if a practical viewpoint is taken, then it means that one should not attach an expectation to it. So, and personally also on my level, I have found that while giving an exam or while performing an action, you do it for the sake of doing, but don't go and think about whether it will be successful or just to have some self interest. Rather, one should go for the greater interest of the society and not limit oneself to self interest. So obviously a normal man will see the self interest, but given a choice he should go for the greater benefit of the society. So the main concept of Nishkamakarma was this, but just telling someone that no, you have no desire, you do something very without it, and maybe we will. And one thing is that maybe we will go to this concept of Krishna someday, we will reach this ideal someday, but from the ground level right now, if I tell someone to completely detach, it is not possible. And I right now realize that, like Ranjit sir said, there needs to be a detached attachment, and then only it is possible. Because I can feel that without just detachment or just attachment will not work, but there needs to be a detached attachment. And that is something that I will also personally take as a very big point from this session. And thank you so much. And I'm very grateful to all of you.
Yes, Kashmira, that
This
is
is
the
the
point.
idea for Stita Prajna is there.
Uh,
That is
no,
the
no, no,
actually.
no. You see, Kailas Babu, those things are there in the Gita, but what we have to think about that the relevance of Nishkamakarma in our lives as well as the corporate culture. So, for that reason, I think that the concept is suitable for this detached attachment. That means Gita is a plea. It is a plea for incessant action. Action can never be stopped at any stage of your life and work. But there should be a detachment with a detached attachment to the action. That is what you, Kashmira, try to explore on this more. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kailas Das and Dr. Ranjit Ghosh, and also Murmu, Kashmira Murmu, for the response. But one thing that comes to my mind, if I take Kashmira Murmu, her exposition on this, when we talk of the Kurukshetra war, okay, we say it's a Dharma Yuddha. We say it's a Dharma Yuddha. It's a Yuddha for upholding Dharma. When you say it's a Yuddha for upholding Dharma, the consequential element or the teleological element comes to picture. So here, the point that was raised by Dr. Kailas Das sir becomes relevant, because when you say that it's a Dharma Yuddha, well, the focus is on Swadharma, and there is also saying you practice for Swadharma, forget about the consequences. Okay, that part is okay. But still, it's a Dharma Yuddha. When you say Mahabharata Yuddha or this Kurukshetra Yuddha, is the Dharma Yuddha. It's for upholding Dharma. So the teleological aspect, I think it's there. How do you see this? Is well.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for the question. Again, a very difficult question, to be honest. But yes, there obviously teleological means that there is a consequentialist viewpoint that you have to uphold dharma, and that's why you are doing all these things. But I find that in order to uphold dharma, this situation demands deontology. This situation where Arjuna and Krishna are having this conversation, that demands deontology. Because if there will be consequentialist attitude here, then the result will not be attained. So I don't say that the entire Gita is completely deontological, but I find that Nishkama Karma concept is something which is deontological in nature. And yes, it is a debatable topic which I will take into account, that whether it is completely teleological or completely deontological, it is a huge debate, and I will reflect on it in the future.
Thank you, Kashmira Murmu. One more thing comes. Well, when we say it's a deontological idea, it's not again the sort of duty for duty's sake, because
Yeah.
here, even though we speak of Swadharma, there is a scope for Apadharma. Anybody can raise arms during the moment of crisis. There is a concept of Apadharma, and that makes everything contextual in the Gita context. And that's not there in the Western sense, duty for duty's sake. So again, we cannot brand it as deontological in speaking in that sense. So a conscious mix of the deontological ideas and as well as the teleological idea is somehow is working, I think, in Nishkamakarma. I don't know. We have to explore. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir. There was one point that I guess I missed it, that it is very contextualistic. The Gita view of action is very, it aims at contextualism, because, and that makes it quite flexible also. So that is my viewpoint. It can be correct, it can not be correct, but that is my viewpoint.
Anyway, okay, thank you, Kashmira Murmu, for your written. Well, you have, well, Jayanti madam is there. Let's see, Jayanti madam is not there. Well, anybody who wants to raise any question or make a submission on this? Well, let's move to our admin, Professor Das, Pramod Kumar Das, sir. Please, your views. Yes, sir.
When we are talking about Nishkamakarma, actually we are discussing about the discipline of, this is about psychic discipline. Very rightly Ranjit Ghosh sir said detached attachment, and secondly he also said that Sthita Pragya. The problem is about our mindset. The problem is about our um, mental slavery. Mental slavery. In an action situation, three things are inevitable because we can't avoid that. One is there is action, one act must. Action must be there. You can't say that there is no action. Agent must be there because without agent no action can be done. Consequence must be there because if there is no consequence, we have nothing to do because we are doing something means it must lead to a consequence. Science also claims that every action has its equal and opposite reaction. We cannot, Gita is very scientific. Gita does not go against scientific declaration. Newton's law, every action has its equal and opposite action. Consequence must be there. So Gita does not avoid action, agent and consequence. Very clear. But at the same time, Gita claims even the action is done, there is no action. No action is done. Even the agent is there is no agent. Even the consequence is there is no consequence. Question is how? If this is explained, the entire Bhagavad Gita is explained. Consequence must be there, but here we are advised not to overthink about consequence. We should not. We should have consequence orientation. But that overthinking about consequence should not disturb our way of our duty. When we are doing some duty, that unnecessary imagination about consequence should be avoided. That is the point, because consequence must follow, and if we should have a planning, we should have an orientation. Otherwise, we can't start doing any action. So that is the point. So consequence is there, but our mental slavery, our mental what we shall say, mental attachment, unnecessary attachment for the consequence should not be there. That means on detached attachment means consequence is there, and we have decided that we have thought of the consequences, but we should have a very detached attachment for the consequence, because our attachment is the problem. Number one, suppose we fixed our mind that this must be the consequence, then our motivation will be changed, because consequences belong to future over which we don't have any control. So our expectations may go wrong, that may not be fruitful. So we have to be ready for any unexpected consequences too. So a consequence is only a supposition, it is an assumption that may not take place as we have imagined. So we should have a neutral mind. This may happen, that may happen. And whatever will happen, I shall not be disturbed because I am doing my duty. This is very common sense. This is the common sense what Gita says. Number one. Number two, agent must be there and there should not be any agent. How is it possible? Because I know that I am doing. There is no need of certificate. But I should not have the sense of agency, kartabhav, the ego, that I am doing, I am doing, I am doing. Many people do that. 90% people, those who give some charity, they take the photograph, they upload that in the YouTube and Facebook. They see how many people like them, what are the comments. These are unnecessary attachments. These are not detached attachments. Do and forget. Because your main concern is to do your duty. So I am the agent who is very much present in doing an action, but I am absent mentally because I don't have that sense of agency. So agent is there, but the sense of agency, karta bhava tyaga. There are three types of sacrifices. Phala tyaga, phala is there, but you have a sacrifice. You have a sense of a sacrifice about phala. Phala tyaga bhava, karta tyaga bhava. Karta is there, you are doing, everybody knows that you are doing. When mother is doing something, mother never claims that I am your mother, I am your mother, I am doing this for you, I have done so much things for you. Father may say, but mother will never say that I am doing, I am doing, I am doing. A good teacher will never say, I have taught you, I have taught you, I have taught you. Because everybody knows that you have taught. But don't develop that ego sense, because that will disturb your personality in future. And that was developed, this tendency was developed in Arjuna. He was worried about the consequence. He was worried about his agency. And then action. Action is there, but there is no action. That is called inaction. That is called akarma. Action is there, but it should be done in such a way as if no action is done. How? If the other two conditions are fulfilled, that consequence is there, but there is no mental hankering, mental slavery about the consequence. If this spiritual sadhana is practiced, and secondly, you are doing but you don't have the sense of agency. If these two conditions are fulfilled, then whatever you do, you are just doing in a flow of doing. That means action becomes your character. Action is done, but there is no action at all. When we are speaking about the corporate, now the question is, oh, it is beautiful in Bhagavad Gita. How can we set it in the corporate section or in a school, in a college, in the modern life? Everybody should be, every sector should have this technique. This is a technique. Therefore, the corporator head should have a patience to tolerate the loss. If our team, the people are giving us maximum profit every year, it's due to some mistakes or due to some market policy, some we are going to have certain loss in our business. Let us tolerate it, because that is about the consequence. So this should be the motto of the action. That is called karma yoga. Karma yoga means yoga karmesu kausalam. So this is the kausala. That not mere doing action is not karma yoga. That is karma. But karma yoga means you have to do your action in such a way that will not bind you. And in what condition your action will not bind you? If it is done, five points. If what are the 5 points of Nishkamakarma? If 5 conditions are fulfilled, we can say that it is a Nishkamakarma. Number 1, action is done without the sense of agency. There is agent but no sense of agency. Number 1. Number 2, there is a consequence, but one is not worried about the consequence. Karmane vadagaraste ma phalesu kadachana. That means we don't have any control over the consequence. Even we think 1,000 times, we cannot exactly say that exactly this consequence will come to my action. No, nobody can say. You are very well prepared for examination, But on the very day of examination, you may fall sick. You may not appear the examination. You may face an accident on the road. So you cannot say exactly this consequence will come. So don't be over worried. Don't be worried about your consequence because you are a karma yogi. Number two. Number three, you do your action with free will. If you are not free, free means flexible. Free means contextual. If you are not free to tune your mind according to the situation, then you can't do your duty because that is not a fixed law. That this is the fixed law, I shall drive my car with my fixed means. No, I shall drive my car according to the road situations. Similarly, every moment is a new situation. So I can't have a very fixed principle. So I should use my free will in spite of all determining factors. So determinism and free will go hand in hand in Bhagavad Gita. And number four is you should do it for a greater interest. Any action you do for the greater interest where maximum people are benefited, not hedonism. Maximum people are benefited by your action. That is called Lokasangraha. Lokasangraha is a very beautiful model in Bhagavad Gita. That is Nishkamakarma. And the fifth one is your action should be dedicated to the divinity. That I am not the agent. If all these four conditions are fulfilled, automatically one should have that sense of devotion. One will become a great devotee, and one shall do an action in that sense of devotion. That I am doing it for him, for Lokasangraha. Lokasangraha is the social limit, and for him means the cosmic limit. That I dedicate my action to the whole cosmos. It is for the divinity. So now the question is whether it is possible for a common man or not. So how can we teach our common people? Suppose those who are not expert in Bhagavad Gita, and what Ranjit Ghosh has said on detached attachment is a very big thing. How can a common man understand this? So we have to convince them that you please accept action situation, that action is there, and common sense, because philosophy begins from common sense. Action is there. Then he will understand, oh, yes, action is there. He will be happy. Agent is there. He will be happy. Consequence is there. Then the common man is happy because all these things are there. Then you teach him that consequence is not in your control. So yes, it is not in your control. So please be detached from it. Let us. So gradually he will understand. So I can do my work in this way. I am giving an example, just one example. The illiterate mother who does not know ABC about Bhagavad Gita, ABC about Nishkamakarma, but all her actions are like Nishkamakarma, because it is not through education, it is not through this classroom teaching, it is through the spiritual grooming. That what is your intention, how you want to do your action. So entire Bhagavad Gita, and there are so many other questions also, deontological and contextualism. I shall go with Kashmira Murmu, that she is very much convinced that Bhagavad Gita promotes applied ethics, that contextuality. And one thing there are many misconceptions in the Bhagavad Gita interpretation, that when Lord Krishna is saying that you are a Kshatriya, therefore you should fight, this is misconceived. Because suppose Arjuna was not a Kshatriya, that means he should not fight. So when there is a fighting situation, when there is an occasion to fight, one should rise to that occasion. Otherwise, he is not doing his Swadharma. So Swadharma, the very concept, I am in my research paper, I have interpreted Swadharma in a very different way. So Swadharma is not that that just do according to your varna, according to no. Swadharma is that my station and my duty. There, Bradley says my station. My station means my context, my space, my time, where I am. So my duty depends upon that. So if Arjuna were not a Kshatriya, were not was not he advised to fight? If not, then it is a wrong message. Because being a Kshatriya, Brahmin, Vaishya, Sudra, all these four are our four personalities. We behave differently in different situations. This is the real meaning of Varna, because we have to act according to the situation, according to the space, time, and context. So Arjuna must fight irrespective of being a Kshatriya, because that was an occasion for fight, because the purpose is to protect dharma. If dharma needs to be protected, then if Arjuna was not there and then if Arjuna was a Kshatriya and he was advised to fight, then what can we speak about Dronacharya? What can we speak about the Brahman soldiers who were present there? They should not fight, but they were ready to fight, being Brahmin. But being Kshatriya, Arjuna is not ready. So here the question of being Brahmin or Kshatriya does not arise. Here the question arises, this is battlefield, you should battle, you should fight. This is not a poetry class that you will give over your past memories and future anxieties. This is the present moment, battle moment, this is war field, you should behave like a warrior. Because you are assigned up to that Swadharma, that duty. Okay, because this is my interest, this area, but I shall go with it, Ranjit Ghosh sir, that really in one sentence we can say Gita teaches us detached attachment. What is also said in Isopanishad, Tenatektena Bhanjita, attachment with the sense of detachment. Vairagya bhavare bhoga kariba. Vairagya bhavare karma kariba. Thank you, Kashmira, for your beautiful presentation. This is my personal reaction over the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Das, for enlightening all of us on this issue. Well, in the moments of crisis, then apad dharma is swadharma. Number one. Number two, consequences are there, but the consequences are there and they cannot be denied. But the focus should be on the duty, not in a rigorous sense, but in a contextual sense. Further, there should be no desire, there should be no sense of agency while doing an action. But one thing does come to my mind, well, even Arjuna, even though he was taught by the greatest teacher, but still, even after the war, Arjuna was feeling that he has killed the great warriors, but still Arjuna carried the sense of agency. Well, this is again a question that has to be debated, because Arjuna thought that he had killed all the great warriors. So the sense of agency was there in Arjuna, even though this is a question, debatable question. Okay.
No, sir, no debate at all. So, very clear. There was no Arjuna, no Lord Krishna. There are two minds. One mind is confusing mind, who is never ready to understand and is understanding slowly. And the another mind is Sthita Prajna. He has understood everything. So the confused mind, both the minds are within us. The confusing mind is asking question.
You have misunderstood me. Even after the end of the battle, everything is over. But still, Arjuna had a feeling, he had that sense of agency. The sense of agency was not lost. Arjuna was under a feeling that this battle, many warriors, because Sri Krishna did not raise any arm. Okay, so Arjuna was under a feeling, the sense of agency was not lost in Arjuna. He was under a feeling that he has killed the great warriors. So the sense of agency was not lost. That is my position. That is what I am saying.
Arjuna was a very bad student. for Lord Krishna, whereas others were very good students. So Arjuna could not understand this there, and Lord Krishna did a very great thing, sir. Lord Krishna has not condemned the free will of Arjuna. In the 18th chapter, Lord Krishna said, I explained you everything, but you have liberty, you use your free will, still now whether you will fight or not. That liberty is also given by Lord
That
Krishna. So
that
there
part
is
is
there may be a gap between teacher and student at all the time. We can't say that Arjuna becomes Lord Krishna, because we are here discussing about transformation. One is the lower mind, confused mind. Symbolically, we say it is Arjuna. Another is the mind of Sthitaprajna, who is well understood, who has no agony, who has no disturbances, no agitation in mind. So there is a gap between these two minds. So there is a gradual transformation from the lower to the higher. This is the hidden meaning of the psychological journey in the
yes,
Bhagavad Gita. But
yes. The
symbolically, we are saying that Lord Krishna told to Arjuna, Arjuna asked this question to Lord Krishna. Actually, nobody is asking any question, nobody is answering. This is a dialogue between two minds only. But your point is right. In spite of all teachings, Arjuna thinks that he is the agent.
that is not lost. But later on, again, a discourse that finally led Arjuna to understand that Sri Krishna was behind everything and Arjuna was not doing anything. So then the sense of agency got lost. So
Finally got lost.
after the war, things are done.
Very nice, very nice.
Okay, thank you,
The
thank
goal
you,
of life.
thank you for a beautiful exposition. Very nicely done. Thank you. So let's move. We had a very good discussion and a good comments by Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, Kalad Das sir, and Pramod Das sir. Very nicely, Kashmira Murmu tried to put herself, and the way she tried to put her, I think she's a great future for philosophy in the state, and I wish her all the best. Thank you everybody. Let's move to the next speaker.